Okay, so we apologize for the delay. Okay, sorry for the delay. Now, basically what happens is that nitrogen is converted to ammonia, and this is known as nitrogen fixation. Now, nitrogen fixation can be done by biological agents, and these biological agents are known as nitrogen fixing bacteria. Okay, you will also see in this diagram that a direct conversion from atmosphere to ammonia is also done by industrial fixation. So, this can also be done directly by industrial fixation, right? Fine. Okay, it can be done by industrial fixation. Okay, now this ammonia, this NH3, is converted first into nitrate NO3, and then eventually it is converted to nitrite NO2, as you can see in this. Okay, I just let me just so basically it is first converted to nitrite, then it is converted to nitrate. Okay, let me just write it. This is nitrite, and then it is nitrate. Okay, on some occasions atmospheric nitrogen can be directly converted to nitrate. Okay, this is done when lightning strikes. Okay, this is known as electrical fixation, and during this time it is directly converted to nitrate. Fine. So electrical fixation basically means lightning. Okay, lightning in the atmosphere. Fine. So this is how we get atmospheric nitrogen on Earth. Is this point clear? Now our main focus will be biological fixation. Okay, we are going to focus more on biological fixation in this chapter. Okay, so basically when we talk about the biological fixation, okay, so basically atmospheric nitrogen is converted to ammonia. Okay, it is converted to ammonia. Now atmospheric nitrogen, or nitrogen in the atmosphere, that is called N2, right? This is converted to ammonia by certain bacteria. These bacteria are known as nitrogen fixing bacteria. All right, these are known as what? N2 fixing bacteria, wherein nitrogen is converted to ammonia. All right, now this ammonia can be converted to nitrate, nitrite, and eventually what? To nitrate. Fine. Now the conversion of ammonia to nitrate is done by two bacteria. The first type of bacteria is known as Nitrosomonas. Okay, the first type of bacteria which does this. Okay, let me just remove all this. Okay, the first type of bacteria which does this, it is known as Nitrosomonas, and the second one is known as Nitrococcus. And the conversion of nitrite to nitrate, this is done by Nitrobacter. This is known as what? Nitrobacter. Okay, fine. Secondly, the entire process, okay, the entire process wherein ammonia is converted to nitrate, this entire process is known as nitrification. Okay, fine. So this this particular process is known as nitrogen fixation, right? This process where nitrogen is converted to ammonia, this is known as nitrogen fixation. And the process where uh, ammonia is eventually converted to nitrate, this is known as what? Nitrification. Clear? This is known as nitrification, right? Acha, now what happens is, let me just broaden the diagram a bit, just a second. Okay, Now basically what happens is that this nitrate, okay, this nitrate goes into larger living organisms. Okay, for example, this nitrate goes into a tree. Okay, suppose a tree. So let me just okay. So suppose this nitrate goes into a tree. Fine. Now from this tree, this nitrate can go into the food chain, right? This means that this nitrate is first going to be consumed by the tree, then this tree is going to be consumed by a herbivore, then this is going to get consumed by a carnivore, right? And eventually what is going to happen is, from this food chain you are going to get dead organic matter, right? So eventually this tree is going to also die, and all the members of this food chain will also eventually die, right? Everyone in this food chain will eventually die. This means that this particular tree and all the members, whether it is a herbivore or a carnivore, will eventually become dead organic matter, right? Eventually this is going to become what? Dead organic matter. And from this dead organic matter, basically what happens is, this dead organic matter eventually gets reconverted to ammonia. Let me just reduce the size of it so that the entire frame comes up. Okay, so basically what is happening is that this entire dead organic matter, okay, this entire dead organic matter gets reconverted to ammonia. Okay, it gets reconverted to ammonia. This process is known as ammonification. This is known as what? Ammonification. Okay, and from ammonia the nitrogen returns to the atmosphere. This process is known as denitrification. This is known as what? Denitrification. I'll just write it in a better way. Okay, now the bacteria which is involved in denitrification, there are two main bacteria which are involved in denitrification. This is also very important. The first one is known as Pseudomonas. Okay, and the second one is known as Thiobacillus. Right? So this is the entire nitrogen cycle in a nutshell. Okay, this is the entire nitrogen cycle in a nutshell. Fine. So you can pause the video, look at it carefully. Whatever is there, you can rewind the video and see through it. Okay. Now let us see about certain bacteria which are involved in the fixation of nitrogen. Okay, now bacteria which are involved in fixation of nitrogen, okay, or what we call as nitrogen fixing bacteria. Okay, they are of two types. Okay, the first type is known as free living bacteria. They are basically free living. This means that they stay alone, right? They don't want to team up with anybody. And the second one is known as symbiotic bacteria. Okay, symbiotic means they team up with someone, okay, and the team helps each other. Now free living nitrogen fixing bacteria can be classified further. It can be classified further The first is known as aerobic bacteria. The second is known as anaerobic bacteria. Okay. Now, for aerobic bacteria, there are two examples given in NCERT. The first one is known as Azotobacter. The second one is known as Bejernica. Okay, Bejernicia. Fine. And in anaerobic, you get an example which is known as Rhodospirillum. Okay. Then in symbiotic bacteria, there are two types. Again, in symbiotic bacteria, there are again two types, with legumes and without legumes. With legumes and without legumes. So plants with legumes, I'll tell you what legumes are. Okay, the plant with legume, this is known as what? This is known as rhizobium. And plant without legumes, they are known as frankia. Example is frankia. Okay, so these are essential classification. Now what we are going to study further is this portion. Okay, with legumes we are going to study about the rhizobium. Okay, fine, this is what you are going to study further. Please look at this chart carefully. Pause the video if you want to, rewind the video if you want to. Okay, now we are going to study about rhizobium. Okay, okay, now rhizobium has a rhizobium basically has nodule formation. Now if you look at rhizobium, suppose this is a plant. If this is a plant, for example, the plant will have roots. Suppose this is the soil. Okay, now the plant is going to have roots, right? So suppose these are roots of a plant. Okay, now what is this plant? This is basically a leguminous plant. This is any leguminous plant. What are leguminous plants? Plants having legumes are known as leguminous plants. Okay, now basically the infection of rhizobium starts when rhizobium gathers around the roots. Okay, these are all what? These are all rhizobium. Okay, now from the roots a particular extension of the root comes out. Okay, there is a particular extension of this root. This is known as what? This is known as the infection thread. This is the infection thread. And what basically happens is these rhizobiums, they enter the plant through this infection thread. Okay, they enter the plant through this infection thread. Now after entering through the infection thread, they grow rapidly in the roots. Okay, they grow rapidly in the roots, like it's like they form a tumor. Okay, they form a tumor like structure, right? These tumor like structures, they are basically known as nodules. They are known as nodules, right? Now these nodules, they live in symbiotic association with this plant. What basically happens is, because rhizobium can fix nitrogen, basically what happens, the symbiotic association is such. The symbiotic association between the rhizobium and the plant is such that rhizobium, what it does, it fixes nitrogen from the atmosphere, right? It is a nitrogen fixing bacteria. So what it does, it supplies nitrogen to the plant. Okay, nitrogen supply to the plant, and in turn the tree or the plant, okay, what it does, it provides glucose to rhizobium. Okay, it provides food to rhizobium. Is this point clear? Okay, now next what happens is that if you look at a nodule, okay, if you look at a nodule, you will find that nitrogen fixation is taking place in each and every cell. Basically, what is a nodule? Nodule is nothing but an accumulation of rhizobium. Okay. Now, basically, what happens is that nitrogen from the atmosphere, okay, nitrogen from the atmosphere, they are fixed by rhizobium. Okay, N2. This is what? This is nitrogen in the atmosphere, right? So what basically happens is that if you consider this particular structure to be the cell of rhizobium, suppose this is the rhizobium, right? Okay, suppose this is the rhizobium bacteria. Okay, now inside the rhizobium bacteria there is an enzyme. Suppose this is the enzyme structure, suppose this is the enzyme. Okay, now what exactly is this enzyme known as? This enzyme is known as nitrogenase. Okay, this is the enzyme. Now what happens is that when nitrogen enters the cell, okay, each nitrogen binds to nitrogenase. Okay, see, there are two nitrogens in the atmosphere, right? One nitrogen molecule means two nitrogen atoms, right? So each nitrogen atom binds to a binding site of the enzyme nitrogenase. Okay, now basically after that what happens is that there is a series of successive reduction. Reduction basically means what? Addition of hydrogen. So on the first step, two hydrogen ions are added. Okay, so how does the structure look like? Okay, so basically you have nitrogen atom here, nitrogen atom here, and along with that you have one hydrogen and one hydrogen here. Then another step, the second step, basically what happens is, in the second step again hydrogen, okay, then okay, nitrogen, each nitrogen has two hydrogens. Okay, next third nitrogen. Okay, basically nitrogen now has three hydrogen atoms. Okay, each nitrogen will have three nitrogen atoms, right? When the third pair of protons come in. So eventually what you're going to have is two molecules of NH3, right? You will have two molecules of NH3, and this is basically what? This is the nitrogen fixation. This is basically fixation of nitrogen, right? Okay, now basically what the entire reaction looks like is this. Reactant side, you have nitrogen N2. Okay, it reacts with 8 electrons plus 8 protons. Okay, basically 8 molecules of hydrogen, or it also involves ATP, 16 molecules of ATP. On the product side, what do you get? 2 molecules of NH2, NH3 plus 2H plus hydrogen plus 16 ADP. Okay, ATP has been used, 16 inorganic phosphate, right? So this is the overall reaction. Okay, and this is also given in your NCERT. Fine. Okay. Then lastly in this chapter we are going to look at the fate of ammonia. Okay, so fate of ammonia first involves reductive amination. Reductive amination. So basically what is reductive amination? So this ammonia or NH4 plus, we can write NH4 plus also, we can write NH3 also. It reacts with alpha ketoglutarate. It reacts with alpha ketoglutarate and NADPH, okay, to give rise to glutamic acid. And the enzyme involved is known as glutamate dehydrogenase. Okay, this is the first reaction. Then the second one is transamination. Transamination. So what is transamination? Okay, the glutamic acid which was formed, just a second. The glutamic acid which was formed, okay, suppose this is the glutamic acid. This is the structure of glutamic acid. CNH2, okay, H, R this side, and then COOH. This is the structure of glutamic acid. It reacts with a keto acid. It reacts with a keto acid. Keto means an acid containing a carbonyl groups, right? This is keto acid. Okay, suppose this is R2. Now what basically is going to happen is that this amine group is going to get transferred from this to this. Okay, now basically what you get is that this particular structure gets converted to a keto acid. Okay, this R1, okay, it gets converted to keto acid, and the second compound gets converted to ammonic acid. Okay, R2CH COOH, okay, NH2, right? So this is an amino acid. Okay, this is a amino acid. Fine. Okay, so this was basically glutamic. This was basically glutamic acid. Now glutamic acid got converted to an amino acid, normal amino acid. Okay. So this is the second part. Okay. The third component, or the third possibility, or the third fate, so to speak, is amides. This is amide. So what basically happens is that an amino acid, this is the general structure of an amino acid. Okay, this is an amino acid. It reacts with another ammonia ion, and it gets converted to an amide. So basically what does an amide look like? Let me just change the color, this will be convenient. Okay, let me just okay. NH4 plus. Okay, this is an amide. Okay, now what basically happens is that this particular amino acid gets converted to an amide. Now what exactly is an amide? This carbonyl group will now contain this ammonia, this red, the one I showed in red. Okay, CNH2. Now this is an amide. Okay, and lastly, you are also going to have urides. Okay, you are also going to have urides. Okay, so urides, not much detail is given in your NCERT. Anyway, so this is more or less about the chapter of mineral nutrition. I hope these two videos will be helpful for you. Thank you so much.